Thank you for this opportunity to sponsor this event, and it's a pleasure and honor to be with some very innovative marketing leaders in the industry. So I look forward to some lively discussions around dinner. You know, I take a look back, and 50 years ago, research scientists at Bell Labs introduced the first picture phone. And it took about 45 years for that to catch on, but I think for the rest of us, FaceTiming our friends, our colleagues, our peers, our families is second nature. I was speaking at a conference in Jakarta, and I was FaceTiming my daughter in college in North Carolina, and the experience was incredible. And then I tried to make a couple of phone calls from my hotel room, which were unsuccessful. And I think that was kind of an indication of what was going on in our industry. 12 years ago, I believe Samsung introduced the first camera phone. And that spawned a whole set of industries, not the least of which is Instagram and Snapchat and others, which not only set up billion-dollar valuations, but fundamentally to change the way people communicate to a much more visual, much more emotional capability. 5 years ago, BlackBerry had 50% market share. Today, it's less than 1%, and I very rarely see a BlackBerry in the US now, other than maybe some Wall Street types who insist on keeping the keyboard. And then within the last 3 to 6 months, 12 months, we've had a whole series of non-traditional competitors come into our industry and start offering communication services, whether it's Amazon or Facebook with WhatsApp, and Google has their communication services, fiber to the home, other online voice services. And I wouldn't look past Alibaba, too. They had a pretty successful IPO, and that money is going to fund a war chest, which all of us in our industry need to pay attention to. And what it does is it points out that Joseph Schumpeter's theory on creative destruction is alive and well. The difference is that the rate at which disruption is taking place at a rapid rate. We don't have time to think about it anymore. It's happening so fast. Having said that, I will say that this is probably the most exciting time to be in marketing, because as marketing professionals, if there's one thing we appreciate, is that with disruption comes opportunity. Now, the flip side is there's a pressure to maintain relevancy, because if we look outside our industry, and I spent 30 years outside of telecommunications in the IT industry, the landscape is littered with companies that failed to adapt and became roadkill, courtesy of the disruption that was taking place. So at Amdocs, we look at the disruption that this industry is facing really from three perspectives. There's a tremendous dynamic around customers and consumers, right? They're mobile, they're social. Most of the traffic now over data networks is video, and that's growing tremendously. They become much more empowered with the internet. They become much more demanding in terms of how they want to be served. Part of that is because they have a lot more options. We're growing up with a generation that configured their own PCs on Dell.com. They went to the hotel sites and told them what they were willing to pay for a hotel room. And it's not going to be that much longer before they start telling us what they want to pay for a bundle. And by the way, the bundles we're offering that were convenient from a segmentation perspective are not the bundles they're looking for. So there's this tremendous consumer dynamic that's taking place that has also worked its way into the enterprise. So it used to be the technology that we got in our offices, we would bring home and proudly share with our families about how cool this next level of capability was. Well, it's fundamentally turned around, right? The technology that's coming to enterprises today is coming from the consumers and the millennials. So I think the CMO has to be part modern-day anthropologist. Right? Then you have the second disruptive trend, which is we're seeing technology. A lot of this is being enabled by technology. And when I look back over my career, we've gone from mainframes to mini computers to PCs to client server to Internet 1.0, Internet 2.0, Internet 3.0, which is really the precursor of the SMAC revolution, social, mobile, analytics, and cloud, which is leading into the Internet of Things. And if you believe the forecast, we'll have anywhere from 50 to 100 billion devices connected by the year 2020. It's no longer about connecting people. It's no longer about connecting devices. It's about capturing and monetizing the digital breadcrumbs that behavior is leaving online, which is why we go back to the power of analytics to apply to some of the customer information that is sitting in our systems that gives us an inherent advantage over these third-party elements that want to come into our industry and compete with us, because they don't have the richness of the data. We just need to know what to do with it. And so the technology is enabling a level of customer experience that, if we apply it correctly, can fundamentally put us in a leadership position and being proactive about it, as opposed to what I see in certain markets where the operators become very defensive about the threat of OTTs. And oh my God, what are we going to do? And we're going to be a dumb price provider. And no, we have a tremendous opportunity here if we take advantage of it. So the CMO has to be a part technologist, right? And then the third is one of what I would call the competitive landscape. You know, competition is no longer defined by traditional business models that operate within the same geographic borders that we're used to operating. Right? There's model after model of companies that are coming into our industry from outside our borders, that are getting around the regulations and are doing a pretty good job of competing for the wallet share that we've traditionally become accustomed to. And so we have to be part political scientists. We have to understand how to deal with these models, right? And I was having a conversation earlier about Uber. You know, I had a conversation with an individual who I won't name at a cable company in Europe who was telling me how proud they were that they were able to reduce the wait time for the serviceman from 8 hours to 4 hours. We all know how difficult that is given the legacy systems and the technology challenges associated with getting a 50% improvement in performance. But you're talking to a consumer who's ordering a car service from Uber and knowing within 20 seconds where that driver is going to be. And the bill you get at the end of your trip is an actual pleasant experience. It was half the cost of a cab ride I had the other night when I took the Uber. And I could actually fit in the Uber car. Cab ride I couldn't fit in. So in addition to being political scientists, we have to be students of what's happening outside our industry. Because I will submit that Uber is not a car service. It's a platform. Car service is the first application that sits on top of that platform. So it has a lot of implications to what we're trying to do from a business model perspective, right? We have an infrastructure we're trying to monetize, but there are services that we're trying to deploy on top of these rationalized infrastructures that hopefully we're taking some of the cost out that can really fundamentally change the customer experience. So I think the opportunity is incredible. The challenges are somewhat daunting, but at CMOs, that's what we signed up for. So congratulations for signing up for that challenge. I think it's a great place to be and look forward to a lively discussion at dinner. Thank you.